Morning, friends. Welcome to Seed Starting Saturday. And guess what? Today is the last time I am going to be sowing sunflowers. So, this is a big day. So, welcome aboard, everybody. If you're new here, I am a cut flower farmer located in the middle of the city. Started my farm about 25 years ago, and it's kind of evolved through the years. And now I'm more of an educator. We don't actually sell flowers anymore. We still grow a ton of flowers for all of our outlets that we take pictures and do videos and all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm glad you're here if you're new. And if you are new, please consider hitting the subscribe button and liking and sharing this with your friends. That's what just really helps us with our mission to help more people, because the platforms share it with more people. So we appreciate it when y'all do this. So just as a precaution, we're in the heart of a tropical storm right now. Literally, I don't watch the weather that closely anymore. The eye is near us and it's heading this way. So we're kind of having torrential rain. It's kind of why I was almost late getting on here. I stopped and peeked out at the big garden that's behind me, and the hairy ball plants are already tied in a knot and laying down. So we'll see what actually happens here today. So, friends, so Jesse is also my co-host, is not here today. So we'll have to just kind of hang in there and do this on our own, right? So she won't be able to post any links. So if you want to learn more about the work that we're doing at the Gardener's Workshop, you can head over to our website, which is kind of our home base. It's thegardenersworkshop.com, and you'll find everything over there, y'all. Our online garden shop, our library packed full of online courses, whether you're a budding or a seasoned flower farmer or a home gardener that just wants to grow cut flowers or start seeds, right? As well as you can connect with our two podcasts, Field and Garden, as well as Seed Talk. And you can find them here on YouTube as well, or on your favorite app that you listen to. So I did not even open up, Jesse always sends me notes. Maybe I should look for that while we're talking here. So I don't know if you guys caught it yesterday. Oh, here it is. Of course she sent them. She's on vacation. But she got me all prepared. So I don't know if you've ever joined us for the Friday 12 noon live show. It's like a QVC style show in gardening with us. It's with our stuff. And yesterday, my sister hosted it for me because I was actually in a business class for 4.5 hours, and she did a wonderful good job. So, and she shared a lot of her flower bouquet making and arranging tips and container ideas. So check that out. And if you don't already have our phone app, you just go to your phone's app store and search Gardener's Workshop. It comes up, it's free. You just download it and you can watch all the replays. And old Susie Q was on yesterday. And as our studio is being rebuilt here, in this building, because here's the domino effect, y'all. So our warehouse, we outgrew our warehouse like 6 months after we got it in 2021. No, 2020, right? That's the year the pandemic started. We bought it that September. We knew immediately we were going to outgrow it. So we got the building across the street, but it had a renter in it. And that renter just vacated the end of June. It was under contract with them. So we have been feverishly updating and bringing that building to what we needed. And I cannot wait to share that with y'all. I mean, it's really a transformation, and it's just doing some simple things, right? So we'll be moving the fulfillment center across the street. Well, up until us having possession of the building, this building that I'm sitting in, which is on the farm, was full of all the pallets that we couldn't fit at the old building. I mean, literally there was no room. So those pallets have left. They're actually in the new building. And so this whole space, which is 30 by 36 and has, all kinds of mess in here. But we have a whole wall that's going to become a staging area for all of our shows. And so my big plan, what do y'all think, is I think that Suzanne and I should do the show together on Fridays. Suzanne's real gift is the products. She and I did shows. I mean, we traveled all over the country and drug all of our merchandise. I would speak and give programs, and then people would mob our booth and buy everything. Suzanne knows as much, if not more, about every product we sell than I do, and she is so good at it. Anyway, it's really kind of exciting and a lot of fun. So that's kind of, I'm just sitting here reeling. So I wasn't even sure we'd be here. Suzanne lost power last night. She lives about 15 minutes from me, so she still doesn't have power. We have a generator. However, this building is not on the house generator. So if power goes out, I think that's where I was going when I went down this rabbit hole, y'all. If the power goes out and I go dead, you know what it is. Power went out. Anyway, so this is our last Saturday of sowing sunflower seeds. I'm going to do a couple more seed starting Saturdays because, we're doing cool flowers. And in fact, I may jump up in a minute and grab a couple of cool flower trays. I got out here late. I was too busy looking at the garden, right? I mean, I was standing under the carport looking at what damage. I mean, when I tell you we had torrential rain about 25 minutes ago, you couldn't even see. You wouldn't even be able to see your hand. It was just so heavy and hard. And Steve, in fact, had to go up to the building we're currently in, the old building, I'll call it. We had a roof repair done. We have a metal roof up there, and had a roof repair done, and I didn't trust it. And good thing he went. It was leaking. So he was up there putting a big trash can under this little drip that's not so little when it's torrential rain, right, y'all? It's just never, ever ending. Don't ever think you're going to get to the point where every day is not full of stuff, right? So let's see what Jesse says. So I want to say, if you see folks posting the sunflower emoji, those are people identifying themselves as our online course family. And we love it when people do that. I mean, it really makes my heart feel good. And I don't know if you saw this past week, another one of our big schools went on demand, meaning that it's available to purchase. Jenny Loves Farmer Florist School, the wedding process, but don't let that stop you, y'all. The name really should be changed on this course. It could be for weddings and events, but it's about the business. This has nothing to do with flower arranging. It is the business of crop planning, pricing equations. Anybody growing flowers as a business would benefit from this course beyond a shadow of a doubt. And right now, when you purchase the course, you also get as a free bonus growing dahlias for weddings with Jenny. Jenny is a stellar dahlia grower, as you can imagine. She, if you don't know who Jenny is, Jenny Loving Fresh Flowers. She's in the city of Philadelphia, and she was Martha Stewart's top 10 farmer florist. And in fact, she's the farmer that kind of keyed that phrase 10 years ago or 15 years ago by her building that model. And she's an incredible teacher. There is no fluff with Jenny. It is all frank, honest information. Anyway, that course just went on sale last week, and it currently has the Dahlia webinar with it. So I'm telling you, it's $695. That is a BB in the Astrodome to what you'll gain. There's marketing, there's pricing, there's crop planning. If you're selling to florists or an event people, I think there's two different groups of 10, the 10 flowers and the 10 foliages you've got to be growing. And then those you shouldn't be growing that you should source from others. Anyway, I just think that Jenny's course is one of the best kept secrets around, and you can find it over at thegardenersworkshop.com. All right, so that's about that. And remember, you can go in the app and watch the replay of Susie Q yesterday and all of our previous ones. And the special deal of the day yesterday is 20% off of many of the arranging accessories that she demonstrates. So, and that's available until 8 a.m. Sunday morning. So go in, if it's raining where you are, go in, watch the video and do a little shopping. And if you still need seeds, which we all always need seeds, right? Seed only orders always ship free inside the app only. So Leslie asked, so I don't have Jesse here to pick up my questions. Is the course something we can do at our own pace? So thank you, Leslie, for asking that. I tend to skip right over the important details, right? I feel like I say them all the time, but I know that there's people that don't know them. So all of our online courses, when you purchase them, you have lifetime unlimited access, which means you can go in and do it in any order and you can do it at your own pace. So yes, that's what Jenny and I were talking about last. I was actually on an online course yesterday. And I mean, I had to take, it was a live class, but you then get the recording. It's like, you have to strike when you can strike and then watch it. I will rewatch that class from yesterday probably 50 times through this winter, watching it over and over as I'm digesting one piece of it. And then I'll go through, and then later on I'll think, but what about, I don't remember if she said anything about this. And I'll go back and it's like, holy cow, she talked about that for 5 minutes. And I just wasn't focusing on that. So my class yesterday was a business course, not a farming course, but so you can take it at your own pace and you have lifetime unlimited access. So thank you for asking that. In June, so she said, Susie Q was amazing yesterday. My sister is very amazing. She and I are why the Gardener's Workshop is what it is today. I thought of all the ideas and my sister made it come true. If I said to my sister, not so much now that she has a grandchild, but back when we were on the road together we've been together for 25 years. Actually, I hired her when I worked at the veterinarian hospital. I brought her on there. I was the manager there, and because I wanted somebody like me, a doer, right? So we worked together there. Then I took her to Ziegler Plumbing with me when I was helping my husband's business out for several years. And then we started this together. But if I were to have said to my sister 10 years ago, Suzanne, I think I want a car like that, but you have to build it. She'd figure out how to build it. I mean, she's just that kind of person. She's my daddy is what she is. Anyway, thank you, June, for saying that, because I totally love that too. All right, friends, and I will finish before we're really going to do our sunflowers here. So I want to remind everybody, if you don't know about my new book, the Cut Flower Handbook, literally, I was doing that all morning. We are on the last edits. It's called the third round of the interior pages. And what happens is I send in last time on the second round, send in corrections and changes and things like that. This picture needs to be cropped a little bit differently, or this caption is missing. And anyway, so they make all those corrections and then they've sent it back to me because stuff happens. And this is supposedly the last round, because apparently October 9th is the day that the book leaves the publisher and starts the printing process to be ready for February, actually be ready for January. And then we get it in February, right? So I am down and dirty doing that. And so this is how things happen. I've already found one caption that was on the last round, but it's not there this time because when y'all are, I don't know if you've ever worked on documents, when you start copying and pasting and working, stuff can fall off of a page and you don't even realize it. So I have until Monday morning at 9 a.m. As my sister would say, that's why the storm is here. I have to be trapped in the house to do this kind of work. So I will be chained to my computer as soon as I'm off of here for the rest of the weekend. I'll go to church in the morning. We have lunch then. And then I'll be back at it and late tomorrow evening and then early Monday morning to send it in. But we're on our way, friends. And if you want to get on the wait list, because we will be sending out some additional information and a pre-sale option, probably not till November. And when you pre-buy it from us, you get some additional free resources. So you don't want to miss that opportunity, right? So get on the wait list, and you can do that on the app, inside the app, or inside our big website. All right, friends, let's finally get down to business. So let's talk about this storm. So if I was still flower farming, you better believe that right now, today, as I am sowing the last sunflowers of the season, we've been doing them every week, right? So we have sunflowers every single week because of this storm and the threat. And I know that this week, so what is the date? Today's like the 22nd or something. So, we're sowing the Pro Cuts, which are normally about 55 to 60 days from seed to bloom. My first frost date is mid-November, but it doesn't always come then, y'all. Oftentimes it doesn't happen for 2 or 3 weeks after that now. So I'm banking on that. And you can believe that if I was selling cut flowers and what this storm is doing to my garden right now, I'd be sowing so many sunflowers today to try to have something for that last push before the end of the season, right? I'm just doing one tray because we grow flowers now to have the harvest for the live show, videoing, and pictures, right? So, because here's the thing about flower farming, y'all. The last few weeks are your real profit. That's like the icing on the cake. The more you can figure out how to have more flowers, fall is almost like spring as far as flower demand goes. So this is when people are partying again. There's a lot of events, a lot of weddings. The florists are busy. The event designers are busy. Farmers markets are packed with people looking for pumpkin spice stuff, y'all. So you need to have lots of gorgeous flowers, right? And here's the other thing that you'll kind of watch unfold with us throughout this winter on our live show on Friday is we dry everything we don't use now. If I was farming, every stem that did not get sold, whether it went to the farmer's market, didn't get sold during the week, we hang it and dry it. That's what all this is behind me. We have so many more dried flowers now, y'all. We learned from Ellen Frost, another one of our instructors, that she only buys local. She's always trying to squeeze profit out of every stem that she can. She doesn't want to trash any flowers. So she started every flower that they don't use in their design business. She's in Baltimore. She only uses flowers that are grown within 100 miles of her studio year round, y'all. That's a whole nother discussion, which I won't go down that rabbit hole. Check her out on the gardenersworkshop.com. Also, she has a course. She has 2 courses in there. And Ellen taught me that we hang everything, whether you think it dries well or not. You never know till you do it. And we're just talking about rubber banding and hanging them. We don't want to invest any more labor dollars into it. And this, what you see behind me, was last year when I experimented with this, created this beautiful wall that's not so beautiful now. We've kind of pulled from it and messed with it for me to have a beautiful backdrop all winter long. Well, we have just taken that to another level that y'all will see all winter this year. So why not plant more fall crops? Because then if you don't sell them, you're going to hang them to dry, because Ellen's business, so they're in Baltimore, they start, stop with fresh flowers, I think, or the majority of fresh flowers, probably at the end of October. And that's like right when winter growing starts for some of her growers, and they get tulips and mums and things. But that's the month of November is when they start making dried wreaths and dried arrangements. And you use all this stuff. So you need more fall flowers. So with that said, if I was a flower farmer, you better believe I'd probably be making 10 trays of 128s of sunflowers today, thinking, am I going to have anything else to sell, because the storm is ravaging my garden? So I use masking tape and our wonderful garden marker. You can find any seed and any product I mentioned on our website or in the app most often. So I am planting, so what is today? The 20-something. I'm going to put the 22nd. I'm not sure what it is. So this is fall medley. So the fall medley is all Pro Cuts, and it's a custom in-house mix that we make. And it includes the plum, the red, which is actually the chocolate, the orange and both of the bicolors. And I actually cheated this morning and I dumped in I only had a few left of the Horizon, which are the orange blooms that face upward. All of these are pro cuts, so they all are 55 to 60 days. So that's all good. So let's look at what we're going to sow them into. So we start sunflowers inside in 128 plug trays, and this is a mix 50-50 of just any potting soil and 50% compost. And we buy it bag jaw and just mix it together in a big tub. And I'm just going to drop one seed on the surface of this tray. So why do we start the seeds indoors? First off, commercial growers always start seeds inside when given the choice. It is far less labor and easier to get a uniform stand of plants than planting seeds out in your garden. And it's just less labor, right? If I sowed these out in the garden, they have to be kept weed free. They have to be oversown to get a good stand of plants, which means you then have to thin them and keep them hoed versus just walking out there with a 2.5 to 3 week old transplant and planting it into prepared soil and watering, and you're done. And so why don't I plant these in soil blocks? It's just simply because it's less labor intensive. Because of the volume we plant and have always planted. When we were in high production, producing 10 to 15,000 stems of flowers a week, we were planting 1,200 sunflower transplants every week. That would have been a lot of soil blocks to make. So we plant them in plug trays, and they do perfectly fine as long as you plant them in a timely manner. So we plant them when they are 2.5 to 3 weeks old. So I'm sowing the seeds, and then what's going to happen next is I'll show you the process of planting them, but then next I'm going to take them and water the tray really thoroughly, and then I'm going to pop them onto a seedling heat mat to get the strongest and fastest root production and the strongest stem. A common issue I hear people say they have with their sunflower transplants is, have you ever gone to pull a stem, a cell or the plug from the cell, and you pull on the stem and you feel like you're going to rip the stem from the roots? That's because of a pure root system. By using a seedling heat mat and warming up the soil, which encourages fast sprouting and quicker growing, you get a stronger root system. Now I'm just placing my fingers on the seed and pushing it about halfway down in the cell, because sunflowers prefer darkness to sprout. And then when I take this tray in and water it, you're going to wash the water off the wall of the cell down and finish and complete the covering of the seed. So you don't need to take this back outside and put more soil on top of it, right? After I water it, I'm going to put it up onto the seedling heat mat, and it takes usually about 2 days, maybe 3 days for about 50% of these seeds to start showing signs of life. And what that means is you just see the neck. You're not waiting for this, y'all. You're just looking for that neck. That means it's sprouting. Once 50% show that, take it off the heat mat and put it under I'm just going to put them outside in full blasting sun with protection from varmints, right? And then we'll water them every morning. And I don't normally do this, but I might actually give them a little food once a week when I'm watering, like I do my transplants, the cool flowers, just because time is of the essence, right? We're at the end of the season. The days are shorter. It's cooling off. So it might take them a little bit longer. You want to give them every advantage. Then we're going to take them out to the garden to a bed that's been prepared. And we've already incorporated the dry organic fertilizer, which you'll find on our website, thegardenersworkshop.com. You'll see what all the details are on it. And I add it according to directions. The only time I vary from only adding that particular fertilizer is when a soil test tells us to do that. We'll plant them in a 30-inch wide bed, 5 rows, evenly spaced out in the bed, and 6 inches apart in the row. Bobo actually does it. She lays down the flower support netting to use as a planting grid, which is perfect. They're 6-inch blocks. You don't have to think about it, y'all. If you're flower farming, what you have to learn, first off, is you need to take my course, Flower Farming School Online, the basics. If you want to make money, it is all about stop doing things you shouldn't be doing and streamline what you are doing. Bobo plants sunflowers so quickly because we just follow the same steps over and over. Prepare, the bed is ready. She uses a planting guide. Our transplants are quick and easy to pop out of the cell tray because they have great roots. She plants them, she waters them, she rolls up the netting. While sunflowers would definitely benefit from being netted, when you're growing the volume that we grow, we just take the gambling risk that we're going to lose some. It's too labor intensive. The smaller the grower you are, the more important it would be to net because you can't afford to lose sunflowers, right? I will tell you, so we had a few, not yesterday, but last week, we had a few sunflowers. We, for the first time in 25 years, are facing deer pressure in our garden. And in fact, I think it's probably 3 deer that have discovered sunflowers after all these years of growing sunflowers in the middle of the city. $1,200 a week, y'all. Do the math. That's how I paid for my John Deere tractor, $31,000 in one season, was just strictly the sunflowers that I grew that year with everything else that I grow. And it's like you can train just like men and dogs, y'all. You can train deer. Once they find, oh, I do like these, then you just have to find a way to get them off of it. Anyway, what I'm getting at is we have not had sunflowers for the last 4 weeks on the show because the deer have been hitting and clean the whole patch. So, if I was selling flowers, I would have figured out how to prevent that from happening, but it's just not significantly important in the big picture of everything going on here to us. So netting is the same thing. How important is that crop to you? Important? Net it. Not important? Don't net it. Risk it. Gamble. It's like driving without a seatbelt on. That's exactly how you need to think about it. I didn't show you. I used masking tape and our pen. I then put this tape on the tray so we all know what it is. So she plants them out there. Bobo waters by hand with a hose and a wand. Make sure every plant gets a good drink. And because here in southeastern Virginia, we get so much rain so often, we don't put irrigation. We don't plant into Bio 360, which everything else pretty much gets that. Because these plants are already a third of the way through their life when you plant them. It's just a waste of resources, in our opinion and our experience, right? May not be the same for you. So, but the one point that I want to say, as this is the last week we are planting sunflowers, the whole thing that makes this system work, starting every week, planting every week, and harvesting every week, is pretty much growing the same variety and at least one color of that variety every single week, so your timing does not get off, right? So that is how we do sunflowers. And if you've been hanging around with me for very long, you know that we start planting sunflowers much earlier than everybody else does. And you can go back to my YouTube channel and go back to March, both years. And that all started, y'all, with the pandemic. After, oh my gosh, I could just talk forever, y'all, but I can't. I got things to do. I got a book to prove. I discovered that kind of during the pandemic. I kind of knew it, but I didn't really implement it. And when the pandemic happened, and I was here by myself on the farm, and I started doing the Meet Lisa on the Porch every Friday, I wanted to sow sunflowers, and it was earlier than it should have been, but I did it anyway. And guess what? It was a home run, and we've been doing it every year, and we have tons of flower farmers doing it. So you can go in and watch those March shows to kind of get a gist. But, it'll lead you and hold you by the hand to do that. So let's see what questions I can answer here. So Susie Q is, I'm in Philadelphia and we're having heavy rain. We also in zone, I would say 7A. So Jenny Love is where you are. I mean, the other thing she's perfected is overwintering dahlias in the ground. And I mean, anyway, her course is amazing. Don't let the farmer florist or the wedding process hold you back. There is so much. There's not really a ton of growing information. She doesn't talk about how to grow stuff. She tells you what to grow as a wedding florist or selling to wedding florist people. But it's the business stuff, y'all. The marketing sessions alone, she goes over all of them. Google, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, all of them. That is worth the cost of the course anyway. But she's there with you are. So let's see what this is. Hi, Lisa. I'm in Lakeport, California, zone 9A, 8B. The status I have this year, can I dig it up, move it to another part of the garden over winter for blooms next year? So I think you mean status, just maybe left the E off there, right? So status, what you have to remember is if it bloomed this year, I mean, this past year, they're called hardy annuals. They really only perform well and sometimes even only live for a year, even though it may stretch over a season. And so I would say I would not even bother with transplant. You just need to start more and replant, because Lisianthus is another great example. Lisianthus, many times we plant them in the either very early spring or last fall. They bloom all this past summer, right? Well, the plants start looking so awesome right about now. But I will tell you, and this is the gist of the flower farming world, they look so good you think, oh, there's only 70% of the bed that is looking good, but I'm going to leave it. They look so awesome. I bet they'll produce well. Well, the rate of winter die out in that bed is so high. I talked to Steve and Gretel Adams, who are big flower farmers and have grown millions and millions of Lisianthus. Said, I mean, the look on Steve's face when I asked him that in an interview, it's like it pains him too to just ditch a plant like I'm suggesting you do that status. But we have learned from year after year after year of disappointment that it doesn't most often work. Sometimes it might, but the gamble is high. I say just start more seeds, plant it this fall, and you will know that you're going to have a beautiful harvest next year. You don't have to wait and wonder all winter long. Oh, Jean, love the channel. Thank you all. So yeah, if you guys didn't watch, go over and watch Susie Q. Jessica, Lisa, so excited for the new book. I got a few direct seeded seeds in bed late. Are there steps you go through to try and help them to sprout and grow? So I would guess that you're saying direct seeding cool flowers, maybe. So, I mean, the window to direct sow, the target is 6 to 8 weeks before your first frost. If you planted much closer to your first frost, let's just say you're in Quebec or Alberta, Canada, or somewhere where you may already be cold. If it's not warmish days, then you can use row cover because seeds need some warmth to sprout, and cool season hardy annuals need warmth to sprout. So you might want to row cover if you didn't get them in time. Betsy, what does she say? Would love to see the dual host the show. Yeah, I Suzanne, after the show, because she felt really good about it. I talked to her about it. I called her when I got out of my class at 4:00 that afternoon and said, we should do this show together, the sisters. And she was very open to that. So I was really happy and surprised. Been watching all your videos since July. I've been preparing to take on cool flowers this year. My little girl and I enjoy listening to you, excited and scared to take on cool flowers. Oh, thanks so much. So first off, I'm afraid every day. Business. So, if you're stagnant in life or in business or in a hobby or in some anything you're tackling, if you're not a little scared once or twice, at least a week, then you're kind of like not going outside of your box. And if that's okay with you, that's fine. But I mean, my theory is that I want to be a little scared every day. And I am. I mean, there's just a lot rolling on everything that we do. And so don't be afraid of being afraid. That's exactly how you should feel, is what I'm saying to you. And I am so pleased to hear about your little girl. You know that I got to meet a little girl named Grace, that she and her mom traveled here for our once a year open farm in June. And she listens to my podcast. Her mom told me all this. And I said, and she actually left her little girl at her mom's. Her mom lives here in town. And she didn't come with her to the open farm. And she told me, she said, my little girl wants to listen to your podcast every night instead of me reading her book. And I said, oh my gosh, Elsie Grace, that's her name. I would love to meet her. So she ran to her mom's house and brought her here, and I met her. So I love that little listeners are listening and that they want to grow and that they're just, interested maybe in entrepreneurship, and tackling business ownership. And there are a lot of wonderful women entrepreneur business owners. And I would love to be a part of giving them the interest in doing that. So thank you so much. And tell her I said, thank you for listening. I love having young listeners. Which course were you talking about? I came in late. So Leslie, I was talking about Jenny Love's course, and it's called Farmer Florist School Online, The Wedding Process. And Jenny actually even said the other day, that the title for what is really in this, it's no design whatsoever. It is all business, and it is so beneficial, from pricing and marketing to contracts and the pricing equations and customer service skills. That's another amazing part of it. So yeah, check it out. All right. If the seeds we want were previously presented on the phone app, how do we include those on the app order, or do we purchase the workshop website for free shipping? If the seeds we want were previously presented. So all of our seeds are in the app. So even if they weren't talked about, say on yesterday's show, you can still search. There's the little hourglass. For anybody that's not familiar. So there's the Gardener's Workshop app on my phone. And right up, and see, I just searched something. So right up at the top, y'all can't see it. Sorry, it's white. There's a black box going across the top that you can search, or the little hourglass is up at the top. You can search and all the seeds are in there. So you can put them all on one order, because seed only orders are free shipping. If you add products, there's a cap of $9.95 on shipping, which is kind of a bargain on some products because it literally costs more to ship them than $9.95, but that's part of the special in the app. So you can search the app. All the seeds should be there. The workshops, you have to go to our big website, thegardenersworkshop.com, to order that. And when you buy the workshops, on the app, you get immediate access. And that's the other thing. I mean, you get immediate access to Jenny's course, and it's keyword searchable. And that's another app. We have a phone app on that too. There's Kajabi right there. So you can watch and listen to all the courses like podcasts. Y'all, there is just no reason that anybody shouldn't struggle. And, so there's that. This is where you draw the line in the sand over the people that really want to go into business and be successful and make a profit, and those people that there's nothing wrong with DIYing your way along. But what that translates into is taking you longer to make more money. And that just allows more people to never make it to the finish line because they get discouraged. Learning from the people that have done it successfully before you. Why reinvent the wheel? Why do you think I took that course yesterday? I paid $1,000 for that course yesterday for 4 hours. Will it pay it back? It's going to already pay me back many times over that. You have to put it into perspective. Courses, if you're in business, is a business expense. The quicker you go from not knowing how to do it to knowing how to do it, the more money you make because there's less time loss. Your time is money, and that's the only thing we cannot get more of, y'all. And that's why I started teaching online courses. I mean, I traveled all over the country doing 60 to 100 lectures a year, and I still could only reach this many people, right? I mean, how many people? I've spoken to thousands at a conference, but that's just thousands. There's so many more. Online courses allows anybody in the world to learn. And we have students all over the world, South Africa, South America, all over Europe. And if it's an English speaking course, it cannot be translated. At least we don't translate it. And that's the thing about being in business. That's what divides the hobbyist from the pros. If you're going to be in business, you got to decide and go for it. The slower you go, the less likely you'll ever make it across the finish line. Sorry, y'all. Rose, Hurricane Ida really hurt my flower fields, even with support netting. 7 inches of rain and 65-mile-an-hour winds was just too much for the flowers. Others did fine. I am so sorry, Rose. I totally get it. What year was it? 2005. I can't remember what year it was. When Isabel came through here, 3 houses on my road were condemned from trees falling on them. We were without power, for weeks, and I totally understand what you're talking about. There are some events that nothing can help, but there is actually a blog on our website. If you go to the website, go to resources, go to the Field and Garden blog. Within the blog, there's a search bar. You can I'm not sure if you would search storm or hurricane. I have some tips on preparing a garden that's going to be facing a lot of wind. And sometimes it means cutting the flowers down, the branching stuff, to get the top weight off. So at least they don't get uprooted and they can regrow, especially if it's early in the season, like in August. But anyway, so I feel your pain and I'm so sorry. Yeah, netting doesn't always help, but sometimes it actually offers you a way to stand stuff back up that you otherwise wouldn't have. So how long do you harvest zinnias before you consider them too old? Well, so first off, the key to that is that when you plant the zinnias, that they are harvested twice a week without fail throughout the season. So there's not a bunch of old flowers out there. What that means is the plants are constantly regrowing, strong, straight stems. You don't have a tangled old mess. And we literally are normally, unless disease or pests become a problem, we're still usually harvesting from the first zinnias that we plant in mid-April at the end of the season. We succession plant because we need more volume and high. They aren't still producing the whopper heads, but they're still producing enough secondary blooms that we keep them. So it's all about treating it like a cutting garden. And y'all, I just can't wait for my book to be in your hands. It's going to answer all these. You're never going to have to watch me on YouTube again. It's me on paper. So a flower can be too old, but a crop doesn't get old unless you don't harvest it. Does that make sense? Let's see what else we have here. Let's see what Andy says. My pro cuts turned out rather tiny. Cute, but the stems are thinner than a pencil. Do you think that's a watering problem or a fertilizing problem? Thank you. Could be any of the above. First off, full blasting sun for 8 to 12 hours a day. Even though sunflowers will grow pretty okay without fertilization, they are heavy feeders. They perform better with food. So definitely I would soil. We believe that soil testing in the fall, if you don't soil test, you kind of like are gardening and farming it with a blindfold on. You just don't know what's going on. So soil test, that'll tell you what your fertility is like. But any stressful conditions can actually do that. And so those are the things that I would check out. Look at this. Nancy, overwintering dahlias in 6A. I think, Nancy, you're saying that you are. So what zone is Philadelphia? I'm not sure where Jenny is. I mean, I know where Jenny is. Winter, y'all, this is how you find the answer to everything. You just Google winter hardiness zone Philly. 7A says 7. So Nancy, if you're doing it, golly day, kudos to you. Because you know what the bottom line is? It's wet feet that kill them. But mulching and the way Jenny has a whole process of how she mulches them and then covers them. So you want to check her out, Loving Fresh Flowers. But I'm telling you, she's an excellent teacher. She has that course is awesome. Mike, for sunflowers, instead of 128s for 2 to 3 weeks, do you think I could sow in 50s and hold them for 5 weeks? Last spring, the snow didn't want to melt, so I needed to hold them longer. You don't want to do that. So I would tell you that I start transplanting early. I call them early bird sunflowers, right? I have my first transplants at 3 weeks old to go in 3 weeks before my last spring frost. That's the cusp of all of it. I would say to you, you could, but that's just wastes. For us, it's a space problem, having only 50 plants in the same space that we'd have 128s. So you could try that. But I don't think sunflowers like to be held in containers of any size that long, is I guess what the bottom line is. Oh, I don't do this as well as Jesse does. What cool flowers are hardy to zone 5? So off the top of my head, the only one I know for sure is all the rudbeckias. We grow about 8 different rudbeckias, the hardy annual rudbeckias. In my book, Cool Flowers, which there is not one down here, in my book, Cool Flowers, on page 138 or at the back of the book, there's a cheat sheet that lists all the ones that are in the book, and it lists their winter hardiness zone. The other place you can find that information, of course, will be in my new book, which has more cool flowers in it and additional information. But on our website, go to thegardenersworkshop.com, go to the shop, go to the seed categories, then go to the cool season category. And every cool flower that I'm planting is in that category. And each one tells you what zone we know it's hardy to. So you can check that out. When is the last to enroll in the course for beginners on the website? So Susie Q, my course is available 24/7 now. So you can purchase it at any time and watch it at your own pace. And so you'll find that over at thegardenersworkshop.com. Oh, Nancy, I am so impressed. So she is overwintering dahlias in Massachusetts 6A. Holy cow. So this is a good question. Before hanging flowers to dry, should they be conditioned in water first? No. So let's just say if I was harvesting straw flowers and I knew that I was going to dry them, I would strip them appropriately because, that you don't want all that dead, dry foliage all over them either. Strip them as usual, but I would not put them in the water. I would stack them on my harvest thing and bring them in and rubber band them, or I might even rubber band them right out in the field. And we actually double rubber band them. We rubber band the bunch like we normally do. Then we put another rubber band just for added, and that's what we put the hook in to hang. And you can see some of them hanging up there. We just started taking them down because we have a whole bunch more hanging around down here. Like, I don't know why my picture got a funny color there. Let's see if it'll go back. Technology, y'all. The camera just got a little bit darker. Maybe it's because I need power. Let me move y'all a little closer. Oh, there it is. So we strip them, but they do not need to be in water. And so this is, can pro-cut sunflower seeds be saved and planted next year? No, you can save them, but they won't come back true with all the characteristics that we actually grow them for, right? They're hybrids. And whenever you have to grow open pollinated stuff to actually be able to save seed. And many of the cut flowers that we grow are not that. They're all hybrids for cut flower traits like longer vase life, no pollen production. All the pro cuts do not produce pollen, but they do produce a ton of nectar, y'all. So they still feed bees, but they aren't really being grown for the bees, right? I grow tons of other stuff for bees because a flower that produces pollen doesn't last a long time in the vase. So if you save pro cut seeds, you'll get a sunflower, no telling what color it'll be, but it may not have those qualities. So buying the seeds are the least expense that I have. When you add up all the other work that goes in it to end up with a flower that's not a good cut, wouldn't there be Maria, I'm sorry. I don't know what your question is. I'm just winging this on my own here today. Marie says, I have my chantillies for 70 days and they are not growing. So if you're talking about they've been a transplant for 7 days, we transplant snapdragons when they're 3 to 4 weeks old. So 4 weeks old would be 28 to 30 days old. So if they're 70 days old and still a transplant, I'm sure they're stunted. So I would maybe suggest to start over again or to get them planted and see if they will actually grow. So I'm just scrolling through. And so this will be my last question here. Starting seeds for the first time in a closet in my house. Way to go. What a perfect spot. Do they really need no grow light until 50% show signs of life? What a great question. So when you're starting seeds, the assumption is that it is not, could be a deep question answer. So first off, what I have learned using a germination chamber is like a closet, but it's a chamber, and it has it's like a steam bath, right? And you use that in place of a heat mat. And what I learned, why I'm telling you this, it's dark in there. And I'm like, well, what about all my celosia and snaps that supposedly need light to germinate? It's dark in there. Are they going to germinate, right? Well, you know what I've learned? They say they need light, but it's not really that they need light so much as that they need oxygen. And they only get that by being sown on the surface, because we germinate the heck out of tons of celosias, which need light supposedly, and snaps in the germination chamber. So what I'm saying to you is that if they're at the proper temperature and surface sown, they're going to germinate. But they don't need a grow light until, when they talk about starting them on a seedling heat mat, they're assuming they're in a room like in your house that just has regular room light, right? The normal, 12 hours out of the day. So I use a heat mat and a germination chamber, which is a deep conversation. I talk about that in Flower Farming School online. I still use a heat mat on certain things. So you start off with a heat mat, and then when you get big enough that you don't have enough space on your heat mat is when you tackle a germination chamber, which we show you how we made our DIY one in the course. So friends, I'm going to wrap it up. And so I'm proud of you for tackling your cool flowers. Cool flowers, you can fall plant everything in Zone 9. So get your stuff in the ground and you're going to have a spring that you've never, ever had before. So let's see what Jesse has so just remind everybody that this is my last week for sowing sunflowers. I will show up next week and probably show off some of our cool flower transplants and what's going on here on the farm. This Wednesday on Ask a Flower Farmer, Jenny Love, of who the course I've been talking about, is going to be the host. So check out our Instagram account, 12:30 Eastern time on Wednesday. Bring your questions about growing dahlias and about her course, and she will be happy to answer those for you. And this next Friday, join us for the live shopping show. We give away something every week. This past week, we gave away $25 store credit. I don't know what they have cooked up for this week, but you have to be there to enter and to actually claim it. And remember to join me back here next Saturday. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. That's what drives us to keep allowing us to keep making all this free content for you guys. So thanks for joining us. I appreciate each and every one of you. And until we meet again, friends, ciao.